Hi, rich and joyous rising. It's me, Niyah. Welcome to my garden. Thank you so much for tuning in to this video. Hopefully, if you're new here, you will subscribe, turn on your notifications so that you know when I post new videos. Um, I've been really reflective these last few days as it's leading into my solar return on the 1st. And this morning was no exception. So before I get into everything, we're gonna take a pause. First off, mom, it's my mom is subscribed to the channel. So mommy, if you come across this video, this one is not for you. You can give it a like. Thanks for the support. This video is not for you. Um, there's going to be a trigger warning here because I'm going to talk about some things that can be triggering to people, and I don't want anyone to be caught off guard um, regarding the topics discussed. But my intention is to encourage you to take your own personal journeys, to inspire you to love yourself as I've been learning to do, and to empower you to move beyond your limits. So, with that in mind, this morning I talked about to myself, to maybe to my higher self, but the message. Sorry, I'm moving my beautifully newly twisted locks out the way. Um, the message I got this morning was about the fact that I'm still here. And I am like really, 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 really grateful to still be here. Um, and people may be like, well, why wouldn't you not be here? And so it's kind of what I want to discuss is how grateful I am to still be here, how that could have, sorry, my son is home and he loud, how that could have not, so loud, how that could have not been the case. Um, and there have been many times in my life where that easily could not have been. And even yesterday, as I was, getting my hair retwisted, that was something I was thinking about that made me emotional. Like, I could easily not be here, and I am. And how grateful I am to be here now. Um, and a lot of times people say, Earth is ghetto, do not recommend. And I feel like when you step back and look at Earth, Earth is beautiful. Earth is gorgeous. Earth is magnificent. There are some aspects of some people that, yeah, can make the experience not great. But overall, this beautiful creation is beautiful. Um, and I'm so glad I get to be here. I am. Um, yeah. So I was thinking about, I'll go back to the beginning, as a baby. Um, you, they talk about when trauma happens, and being born itself is a traumatic experience. You are pushed out of your home. You are, you know, newly in this physical form. You're pushed out of your warm, safe home. You no longer can hear your mommy's heartbeat. You no longer are getting the food directly like that. There's just this trauma, and all of a sudden the first thing you see is all these strangers. First thing you see is not your mom, it's all these strangers looking at you. A doctor, cutting you away from your mother. You think about that, that's traumatic. And so people are like, don't, baby the bait. Yeah. um my mom told me a story that apparently my mom was in the military when she had me. And I'm sorry if I'm looking down, my pendulum thing is really, really twisted. And now that I've looked at it, I can't not undo it. Um, so I'm just like, please, please come on down. Um, but she was in the military. So she was in the hospital with me, and apparently, there's a lot of times hospitals have students in there, and they were practicing drawing blood from babies on me multiple times. So she said she apparently heard a baby crying, and she didn't think it was me. And then, she, figured out in some way that it was. And they're like, "What are you doing to my baby?" And they're like, "Well, the students want." So you can probably imagine the wrath and fury of a mother finding out that you're using, without her permission, no less, their child basically as a pincushion. Sorry. And I got it undone. Yay. So, that's like a newborn. I am a newborn, and immediately it is like trauma, 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 trauma. Then, thank goodness for my son, my firstborn, who was already a guardian for me when I was a baby. My mom just had this overwhelming urge to take me out my car seat one day and hold me while they were driving. And some people are like, "Oh my God," no, but my mom just, my mom's intuition is super strong. And so, and my dad didn't fight her on it. So they ended up being hit where my car seat was. If I had been in that seat, I was a baby. Like, I don't know if I was 1 year old, and her moving me saved my life. When I think about the rest of my life, it was, I've always, when I hit puberty, I just developed. And so legs, hips, thighs, breasts, that was just always a thing. And I wasn't always seen as just a little girl. So I survived rape. I survived, molestation. I survived stalking. I survived being almost gang raped twice. And that was in the span of less than 10 years of my youth. Well, one of the gang rapes is further on, but like molested, raped, almost gang raped, stalked. All of that happened from 5th grade through 8th. It was like every year there was something. My house being robbed. Every year it just seemed like there was something else going on with me. I ran away from home because I didn't know what to do with the feelings. I ran away from home because I just wanted to get away. There were days where the noise at school was so loud. It's just so loud sometimes. You're ugly, you look like a monkey, a horse, you stink. My rapist went to school and bragged about it. The stalker was stalking me at school. It was just a lot, and I did what you hear sometimes people talk about, kids trying to commit suicide. do because they don't really know. They just do what they see in the movies and took a bunch of pills. Never worked. And I tried it more than once in my life, and I always just ended up with a really bad allergic reaction. I was like really exhausted and my face swelled up and with my eyes. So if you weren't, nothing where anybody knew what was going on. When that wasn't working to help me feel better, it was cutting. And I used to hide it on my inner thigh. When I think back now, there was some either aspects of me or someone in my spiritual court that was really working hard to save my life. You know, survivors of rape can manifest the trauma in a variety of ways. I went through hating being a girl. I went through the only safe thing for me to do is say yes. I went through lifting weights so I could physically protect myself. Feeling like the only thing I was good for was being an object, and that was the only thing that I had to offer. Not feeling safe in my body. Like, I, I was not the sovereign of my body. Even as recently as even as recently as 2020, I was almost assaulted. In 2021, sorry, it was last year. Add on to that, you know, heartbreak, you know, relationships ending, being homeless multiple times. There were times there were times early in my career in my job that I have, the company I work for now, that I came to work from sleeping in my car. The one I had before that, same thing. Had gone There were days I came to work from sleeping in my car. I've slept in parking lots. I've been very blessed to most often have a vehicle when it happened. Almost every time it went down, I had a car. So I'm always really grateful for that because I could get around. And there were sometimes I could hide it. You want to see me? I'll come see you. I'll come to your house. Pop in on my parents. Like, let me just, I'm like, hey, yeah, I'm going to swap through, use the bathroom, and I'd wash. So generally speaking, more often than not, I always seemed like I was clean, even though I didn't. I was sleeping in my car. I just, I felt like such a failure. I couldn't ask for help. I felt like I was entirely too smart to have allowed so many of the things that I allowed to take place that I couldn't ask for help. And inevitably, I ended up back home by accident almost every time. I think only the last time did I say I just need to come home. I think I kind of just fell into it before that when I could have just asked. And I looked and I said, there were days I didn't know what I was going to eat, what parking lot I was going to be able to park in safely. Thank God for Walmart being 24 hours because it's always cars there. So it was an easy place to park and hide. then when my son died, I wanted to go with him because I didn't understand why God hated me so much that He would take my baby when I worked so hard to be able to even get pregnant. I spent so much time in pain that I hid. And even now, it just dawned on me, like, even with all that pain, there was some really, really not safe or not healthy things that I did, but I never decided I'm gonna drink or get high. Like really thinking about, like, I should have been high. Like real talk, I should have been high. I should have been drunk someplace. Like never, like not once, not once did I like I'm gonna drink. Bartending and everything. Never once said I'm gonna drink. I guess I don't know. I don't know why that never happened. But I don't give myself enough credit for what I did do, which was find a job, which was get back on my feet. You know, when I got the job at the company I'm at now, it just was, yeah, my heart was broken. I felt broken. My blood pressure was through the roof. I was so stressed out. I was staying in a place where it was not the best situation. I was grateful to have been able to stay there as long as I did, but it wasn't a healthy situation. I should have just went home. But it was like all the while, like the one, it's like apply for this job, okay. So I applied for the job at the company I'm at now while I was working someplace else. And everyone, the people who know me personally, where I work at, know it's hard to get on at my job. At least it was back then. Like if you even if you got the interview, it'd be like months. But it didn't happen like that for me. I applied. 2 days later, I had my first interview. Later that week, I had the next interview. By the following week, I had my final interview. By the end of that week, my current job let me go. And as I was walking to my car in the parking lot, this job called me and was like, when can you start? And you want me? Can you be here in 2 weeks? Cool. Went to my old job. Not only did they hire me, they hired me back on as a manager. Hired me back on as a manager. She looked at me, you know how to remember how to use the system? Yeah, okay, go ahead and put yourself in there. Make sure you fill out an application so we can have it done. I didn't have a car at that time. And I managed to find what was almost my dream car. Right in time because things were getting stupid where I was at. And they ended up locking me out. So I ended up spending a lot of time, some evenings, sleeping in my car, getting up, at the last possible moment in the morning to go shower so I could get to work. And I was just really, really down. Even, you know, there was a moment, I think in 2019, where I was just like not okay. And I wouldn't ask for help, but there was something in me screaming for help. Thank God for friends that say, go to therapy. And that's what I did. I went to therapy. I went to therapy, and about 6 months into therapy is when my spiritual awakening kicked in. Spiritual awakening kicked in. I ended up off the antidepressants I was on. The stomach issue I was having stopped. The waking up in pain stopped. Everything stopped. And so, in the midst of the tower moment that came, the end of 2020, I grieved, but I didn't break. Like, that tower fell, but I immediately moved into the star card. And if you don't know, in the star card, it's like the tower falls, but in the next card, there's a survivor from that fallen tower, but she's naked. But she's planted her foot on earth, and her foot is in the water, and water represents spirit. And that's where I was at. There were days I cried and grieved. I went through my grieving process where both the end of my marriage and the end of a friendship happened simultaneously. But if I had not been in therapy when I was, if I hadn't started going through an awakening when I did, I don't know what I would have done. I would have been so shattered. But my children needed me whole. And right now I'm whole. Right now I'm whole. And I thank Goddess for that. I really do. I really, really, really do. And that knowing, that personal knowing for me, that at no point in my journey have I ever been alone. Even when ego and, doubt and the world, everything else was loud, there were angels. There were literally, it like my son, all your your children are ancestors that have come back. For the most part, there's some that are brand new, but they're ancestors. And for me to have an ancestor walk with me and then birth that ancestor to ensure that their siblings come, and to know that, like, not believe it, but to know it. See, before I believed in God, but it was always separate. It was always, God's in heaven somewhere up there, sitting there looking down like, oh, you did that thing. You did that thing you were not supposed to do. Now, when I look in the mirror, I see God. Because God is in everything. Look behind me, that thing right there, I see God. When I look at my son, I see God. When I look at the trees, I see God. And to know that God has always been just that close and not punishing me. Every aspect of my journey had purpose. Had I not experienced homelessness, I wouldn't have worked so hard this last 2 years to collect items and get money to donate to the homeless, because I wouldn't have been able to see them. I see them because I know what that looks like. I know that it doesn't always look like someone who hasn't had a bath or anything. Sometimes you well dressed. Sometimes you smell good because you got a car, so you can fake it. You can go to somebody's bathroom and bathe. I am sovereign in my body. I have an appreciation for me like this, for me with a tank top on, for me with my legs out. I have ownership of my body. And anybody who has experienced sexual trauma can see that you are not defined by that trauma. Allow that trauma to turn into triumph. I work really hard to coach people to illuminate their own personal greatness. because that's what I'm always doing for myself. I am not the sum of my traumatic experiences. They laid a foundation for me to be strong. I don't know why sometimes I know what I know. I just do. I don't know why I'm a medium. I just am. But I do know why I'm able to be compassionate, be nurturing. I give what I've needed in some of those moments. I am super protective of people who don't have a voice because I know what it feels like to feel like you don't have one. I will be 43 on Tuesday. 7 going forward. And I am so grateful to still be here. So I hope that beyond possibly crying, my bad, um, I hope that you are inspired in some way. I hope this encourages you to keep going. I hope you feel empowered. And if at some point you're just like, I am lost and I don't know how to do this, well, maybe this is a call to say, hey, maybe you need some help, and that's my purpose. That's what I'm here for. So, thank you so much again for watching. Thank you so much if you are, you know, flowers in the garden already. Thank you so much for growing here with me. And yeah, unless I got a message to deliver, I'll probably be on a social media fast for about 24 hours, but I'll be back. Um, my calendar is open for readings. So if you need a reading, my calendar is open for readings. Um, I do have a new coaching program called S.L.A.P, and this is Self Love Awakens Purpose. The introduction to the program will actually be launched as a free webinar. Link in the bio for you to be able to register for that. Um, for those of you who are like, oh my God, you know, it's your solar return, it's your birthday. I left my cash app below. No shame at all. Left my cash app below. You can go on Amazon, get me a deck of cards because pick a cards are coming back. Pick a cards will be coming back. I'm trying to figure out a good day to record them. It's semi quiet now, but my son is here. When they see the cards out, it's like, ooh, what are you doing, mommy? So I try to do those readings when they're not here, but we'll see how that goes. But pick cards are returning. So yeah, if you want to purchase a deck to donate to my collection, to be used in the cards. If you have a suggestion for a pick a card that you would like to see me do, you can always send that to me as well. Otherwise, I want to say thank you. Have a beautiful weekend. Be safe, stay healthy, and take care. Bye.